Yeah, I gave him $12 and he buys me a freaking car charger. Sorry, I gotta go. I gotta teach these guys how to connect to a freaking server. Sorry guys, that's just how I talk when I'm not on YouTube. But anyways, in this lesson, I'm gonna show you guys how to connect to a server. So connect to server, there we go. So of course, this is the method connect to server that we're gonna be coding. So, I guess we might as well name it private void connect to server. And this is also going to throws IO inception. I'm just kidding, exception. Not as exciting, not as good as a movie, but the first thing we have to do is we're going to go ahead and display a message, which is a nice little prompt to the user, and we're going to say, dude, attempting connection. If we're not there yet, just hold your horses because that's what we're doing. So after this, like I said, what we need to do is basically create a socket, and the socket is the connection between this computer and another computer. So what information do we need to connect to a server? Well, whenever we're connecting to a server, what we need is two pieces of information. The first piece of information is the IP address of that server. Now, every computer on the internet has an IP address, which is pretty much an identifier for that computer. Now, once we know what computer we want to connect to, we need the port number because there's a bunch of different ports on that server, a bunch of different applications. We want to say that this is the application that we want to use. This is the port that we want to use. So connection equals new socket, and the socket, of course, takes, make sure I don't type anything wrong, get by name. So get by name, and the name that goes in here is server IP. Server IP, just like that. Now, the next one is the port, and it's 6789. Alright, so basically those are the two things I told you. Remember in the last tutorial, or not the last tutorial, but whenever we were creating the server program, then we said, remember that port. This is what I said to you guys. Remember that port, write it down on a sticky note or something because it's very important. Well, if you forgot it, then just go ahead and open up the program that you just made. But if you're just following along with my tutorials, then the 6789, basically the port on your server that we're going to connect to, and what this does right here is it passes it in the IP address. Now, you need the specific IP address whenever you're connecting to a server, and it's going to be different from mine probably, but for now, just remember that just for testing purposes, we can just use the same computer that you're working on. But whenever you really make it, then you need to, ask the owner or just find out the IP address from online or something. And it gets passed in through whenever we call this class right here. And it gets set whenever we, create the class object itself. Then oh, excuse me, got the hiccups, gets passed in through host, and it sets it equal to server IP. So now this variable, server IP, is a variable that all these methods can use, and the server IP is the IP of the server, so that's why we are allowed to use it right here. This is the IP address, and this is the port on that server. Fair enough. So now the last thing that we need to do is just give a nice little prompt that says, okay, dude, you are connected. So show massage, and we'll just say something like connected to, and we might as well give them the IP address. So connection, because we're extracting information from that connection or the socket, get an address, get host name. So this is basically going to say, okay, what is the IP address of the server that we're connected to? And yeah, let me review this one more time. So basically we're going to say attempting connection. Once we're connection, then the socket is going to be made, and we're going to be connected to this server at this port. And then we just go ahead and say, dude, you're connected, you're good to go. So in the next tutorial, what do we need to do next? Yes, of course. Once we're connected, we have to set up the streams or the roadways that communicate back and forth between the client and the server. It's going to be awesome. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.